Good evening. This is Dr. J.B. Pressey, I Bread from Heaven. We're coming to you live tonight with a great conversation centered around three important components of freedom for African Americans and others throughout the nation. And that is freedom, justice, and equality. Tonight, we have an opportunity to have a conversation with the state president of Indiana, Barbara Bowling from Gary, Indiana, and as well as our local NAACP president, Shelia Curry Campbell. We're going to be engaged in a conversation about what is going on now in our culture called America that is impacting the gains that have been won over the last 111 years since the formation of the NAACP, because its mission has not changed. Welcome, Sheila, and welcome, Barbara. How you guys doing this evening?
Good, good.
Wait, before we get started, I'd like for our audience to get an opportunity to get a feel for who you are. Barbara, how did you get started with the NAACP or into the freedom movement? What is your background? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing professionally and how you got involved and what is your role currently with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Well, JB, first let me thank you for allowing me this platform to be able to talk about one of my loves, the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So how did I come to the table? And actually, I came to the table just oppose many of the freedom fighters such as yourself. Probably, I don't know how many years you have, but in your years, I'm still probably considered just a babe, and certainly with a lot of the people I work shoulder to shoulder with. And I tell them I've been around for 30 years, but just oppose that to how many years have you been around doing this work? And so, and what's interesting enough is that Fort Wayne was the birthplace for my involvement with the NAACP. I'm a attorney by profession, so my first job out of law school was to do a federal clerkship at the federal court in Fort Wayne.
Okay.
And while living there in Fort Wayne, certainly I got involved in the community. My first priority was to find a church, and so I went to several churches visiting, and I settled in on Union. When I joined Union, and I didn't think before I joined you, but a woman approached me. I stood up for a visitor, and after service, the lady came up to me and she introduced herself, and then she invited me to dinner. And that person was Marie Whitehead.
Okay, I know Marie very well.
Everybody knows Marie.
Yeah.
And Marie was very active with the NAACP. I think she might have been the secretary at that time. Yeah. And so in addition to inviting me to dinner where she made me shuck my own corn, she also invited me to go to an NAACP meeting. Well, again, it's just like it's another meeting. But I had been in law school for 3 years where I did absolutely nothing but study, and so I was ready to get back out into the community and do some work. And I was reading a pamphlet in the office about AXO. And wow, if this program is real, this is phenomenal. And so I worked with the Fort Wayne branch during the time that I lived in Fort Wayne. I lived in Fort Wayne for 2 years, and I was the legal redress chairperson while I was in Fort Wayne, and then I moved back home to Gary, Indiana, which is my home. And I started working with the local branch in Gary, where, interesting enough, I told them, I said, well, I want to work with AXO, which they'd be the AXO chair. So I did that for a couple of years, and I, became a third vice president. and then I became second vice president, and then I
Mm-hmm.
became the first vice president. And when I went to a meeting on this one particular day we were having our meeting, I was a little bit late getting there. A lot of people know me; they know I'm late a lot of times. But anyway, I was a little late getting to the meeting, and when I arrived at the meeting, they said, "You're the president." And I'm like, yeah. I know you're messing with me because I'm late. They said, no. They said the president came to the meeting on time and announced that he was resigning and walked out the door. And walked out the door. So all of a sudden now I'm the president of the Gary branch, and I served in
Mm-hmm.
that role for about 6 or 7 years.
Now, was Mayor Hatcher still the mayor of Gary at that time?
Mayor Hatcher was still the mayor of Gary at that time, which was interesting because when I became eligible to vote at 18, then I moved away to go to college in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally came back and settled in, um, he was running for what would be his last term because he
Mm-hmm.
was elected. And so, but I felt like I had an opportunity to finally vote for him. He served for 20 years. He waited until I could come back home and
Mm-hmm.
let me vote for him. And well, it's also interesting in our household is that,
Mm-hmm.
my mother and my sister were both, voters in our
Mm-hmm.
household. And there were three people running for mayor at that time, and we each voted for one of the candidates. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, we just canceled each other's votes out. But yeah, he was a phenomenal man.
Right. That's beautiful. And and what year were you in Fort Wayne with the Axel program?
I didn't start working at the AXO program while I was in Fort Wayne. Gary was my first place of actually working with the program. I was just introduced to the program while I was in Fort Wayne.
Oh, okay. Because I know that Taft Murdoch, when I was president, he was our director of the Axel program. He started the first Axel competition. We went for the first year, and we came back with many gold medals in our first try under
Congratulations.
yeah,
That's phenomenal.
under the leadership of the dynamic Benjamin L. Hook, who at that time had a strong attitude towards young people, because it was young people that really he got young people to revive the NAACP back between 78 and the early 80s. The NAACP got back on track to where the organization needed to be, and I was part of that
Resurrection.
of young people getting involved. And I spent 9 years of my
Yeah.
life here in Fort Wayne with the NAACP. And that's why I'm so happy to be here with Sheila. And Sheila, could you bring us up to date on who you are? Some people in Fort Wayne know you, some people don't. But this is an opportunity for the viewing audience on YouTube and Periscope and Facebook to get a chance to know who you are. So tell us who you are, because you're in two roles. You are also the local president, and you also have been appointed to fill a seat on our county council, first district county council position. So let us know exactly who you are.
Well, good evening and thank you so much, JB. I value you. I value your membership. I value your history lesson today, along with our state president, attorney Barbara Bolin Williams. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I'm just Sheila. It's not a whole lot to me. I do serve currently as your branch president. I am happy to serve and proud to serve. I say all the time, I was born into the NAACP. Uh,
Hmm.
as old as I can remember, Goldsby Craig would always purchase our membership. She was the membership chair, and
Yes.
that was her commitment. And so, in her honor, that's something that I did last year. In just whenever someone don't have the funds, whatever, purchase a membership, and I always
Mhm.
remind them of Goldsby Craig. She's out in the nursing home, but I'm just Sheila. The opportunity to serve as the first district county councilwoman is that I wear proudly. As you stated, Sharon Tucker held that seat. She ran for the 6th district, and so the Democratic Party caucus. And I was overwhelmingly selected by the caucus, the voting caucus, to fill that position. And
Amen.
so with that, county work is a lot of work. It's a lot of work with numbers. We actually have a meeting tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. You can follow us on City TV. But there's a lot of work. I'm the only Dem, the only female, the only African American, and so I asked a lot of questions.
And we're trying to change that. Am I correct?
We are trying to change that. As you stated, I wear several hats. One of those is that trying to get Melissa Fisher, one of our NAACP members, elected. And we also have several members. Regina Jones, she's running for Fort Wayne Community School. That's out in the 2nd district, which is basically Cherry Hill. We also have a young man, just a newlywed. He is running for East Allen County School, Mr. James Lee Wilson. And so we do have some dynamic folks that are running, that are members, card carrying members. And I appreciate them. And I hope tonight folks will definitely get a membership. Membership is the lifeblood of the organization. Right now we're preparing for an election that will be like no other. And we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to get their vote, get their absentee ballot, vote in person if needed. But we want folks to remain safe. And so that's just a touch of what we're doing. I mean, we had a big push here with the masks. We made over 10,000 masks and distributed those here in Fort Wayne. And I was proud to be a part of that team. Melissa spearheaded that. Greater You Are, Pilgrim. So many churches involved, and were gift these masks to stay safe in preparation.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because Councilman Glenn Hines, who has served on our city council, got his start with the local NAACP. As a matter of fact, he served under my administration as a vice president. We traveled all over the country, and he was born and raised in Fort Wayne, and he was elevated through that election process to get on city council, and he's been doing an excellent job. And Barbara, the thing that is so unique right now with Fort Wayne, for many years we only used to have one city council person, and that was John Knuckles for years. John Knuckles spent 23 years screaming for opportunities for Blacks and other minorities in this community. And today, Barbara, we have 3 African Americans on our city council. And I'm challenging them, even though that they are African Americans, we have to challenge them like we challenge everyone else to do what is right for the people that elected them into that office. And and I'm hoping that they can form an alliance in Fort Wayne, like they have in Washington D.C. We have a Black congressional caucus. I see no reason why Fort Wayne, Indiana, with as many Black elected officials we have, why they cannot form a citywide political African American caucus.
Absolutely.
I just want to add on to that. Now, we do have IDAC, the Indiana Democratic African American Caucus. We do have a here in Fort Wayne, a caucus of elected officials. And I forgot about Raleigh Booker, who was recently filled the seat of Jordan Lemanoff on Fort Wayne Community Schools in the 4th district. And so I don't want to go without that part being said, but you know, we are trying. Glenn is trying.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really talking a lot about it. There is a national, and so we want to be sanctioned through them and do things
Mm-hmm.
the right way. So
Mm-hmm.
trust and believe. We got 8 elected African Americans here in Fort Wayne, and so that would be that specific a caucus of elected
Right. Yeah,
officials.
because how can two walk together except we agree? And if you never sit down and talk together about the real issues of the community, nothing gets done. And Barbara, you know this well, being the president of a state conference. And how many branches do we have in the state of Indiana right now?
Right now, we have approximately 22 branches. Not all of them are active, but the
Mm-hmm.
great majority are. We
Mm-hmm.
have 6 youth councils, and
Mm-hmm.
we have 4 college chapters.
Okay, that's awesome. I was very impressed last night listening to the young people in their conversation last night. Dynamic. If the, if our country, if the future was ever in doubt, is not in doubt anymore after listening to those young people. They are brilliant. They were intellectually prepared for the conversations they had. And I think the NAACP is doing a great job in developing legacy in our young people to take the helm when it's time for them to move into those positions. And I think the state of Indiana has done a great job of trying to prepare these young people to take full responsibility. I know Sheila has been working with the young people in Fort Wayne, and and the thing that I think people don't really understand about the NAACP, the NAACP is a membership organization,
Mm-hmm.
and being a membership organization, the legacy and the reason why we have been successful is because the hallmark of getting things done is agitation and confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you see something wrong, you cannot sit back and be quiet. You got to open up your mouth and
Exactly.
say something about it. And once
Exactly.
you say something about it, and you know, Barbara, when we go in and do the investigations first.
That's right.
Once we investigate and we find out in that investigation that there are some practices that are not germane to our people, then we're gonna raise the flag. We'll march on you. We'll protest on you to
That's
get
right.
those changes that we need. So, Barbara, in looking at uh, national is focusing on education, economics, criminal justice, healthcare, environmental, and climate justice. How are we doing in those areas?
Yes, and voting rights. Don't forget voting rights.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
vote.
we're
Yes,
absolutely voting rights. Don't forget them.
right. So how are we doing in Indiana in those areas?
We're very active in those areas. We are proud of what we did with respect to ban the box under the criminal justice umbrella. Um, we have been able to garner, ban the box, and what that means is that when people go in for an application, we don't
Mhm.
believe that there should be a box on that application that that person has to check that says, "Have you ever been arrested or convicted of a criminal, charge?"
Mhm.
And we think that that's a question. We aren't saying that you don't have to ask that question, but we
Mhm.
think that's a question that's better way to ask in the interview section,
Mhm.
not on that
Mhm.
application. Because the minute you check that box, we know what's going to happen to that application. They're going to throw it away immediately. But if you like what you see on paper, then you bring the
Mhm.
person in and give them an opportunity to explain why it is that they were arrested or why is it that they got convicted. It could be something as simple as a child support
Mhm.
situation or a traffic situation. You get stopped for not having your license,
Mhm.
and if you do it a couple, too many times, then it's going to be a crime. It's not just going to be a infraction. It's going to rise to the level of a criminal one. And so when you start to think about having somebody as your employee, if you knew that criminal charge that person had gotten was really just a traffic charge, or really at the time maybe they were behind on their child support because they didn't have a job, and so therefore you can see, well, that person has all the skills that I'm looking for, and and able to get that job. So that had been one of our advocacy, and it continues to be, because not everybody has banned the box, but the box has been banned for governmental hiring throughout the state of Indiana. And again, we're pleased about that. Healthcare, certainly we've advocated for the Affordable Care Act and supported and encouraged people to to make sure that everybody gets covered. Here we are now in a health crisis, and just think about how devastating, how much more devastating this could have been had the Affordable Care Act not been in place. It still isn't where it ought to be. And when it was presented and passed, it wasn't meant to cover all of the issues and answer all of the questions. Nobody can answer all of the questions at the beginning. You got to see how this going to play in using it. And at that point, then you say, oh, we need to make some adjustments over here. We need to tweak it over there. It just never got a fair shot. Never had an opportunity to actually be vetted, and the opportunity to be the best that it could be. So healthcare, environmental, climate justice, we've done phenomenal things. You've heard about the situation, the water situation in Flint, Michigan. I don't know how many people realize that we had a crisis just in East Chicago, Indiana, where the soil was poisoned. A housing complex, a low-income housing complex, was built on the old grounds of a factory that produced arsenic and lead. So now this is in the soil. When the wind comes along, it blows the air. It's blowing it in the house. People are breathing it, and they put signs out that said to the kids, "Don't play in the yard." You can't. So, and it's in it's in the water. It's in everything. And so it was brought to the attention of the housing people by when the African American mayor got in, and for years people had known about this. The administration in the city, East Chicago, knew about it. Every administration knew about it. The people down in Indianapolis knew about it, but nobody took any action until the African American, the black mayor, was elected. He was able to be read into all of the circumstances about this and the high levels of lead and arsenic, and he immediately said, "We're shutting this down. The people have got to move." Well, everybody was really upset because this has been our home for generations, and where are we going to go? But he knew the devastating effect that people living under those conditions were already. I mean, just generations of cancer and asthma and things like that. So NAACP on a state level, and even with support from the national level, because our national president at the time was Cornell Brooks. He came into Chicago and did a listening session with the people there.
Okay.
So that impact.
That's awesome.
Right now, our current initiative is trying to encourage people to get solar, because our state is trying to shut down the economic benefits of having solar on your houses, on your businesses, because right now, if you get solar on your property and you can apply the amount of solar, or the amount of sun and utility and electricity that's coming on the grid back to your house, and that could totally wipe out your electric bill. And not only do you produce enough to wipe out your utility bill, but you actually have enough that remains on the grid. And so what the utility company is doing, they aren't even paying you for what the extra that you contributed, and now they're selling it to your neighbor who didn't get solar, and you don't get any benefit from that. But they won't even stop the benefit that you get. So we did a project down in Evansville, Indiana, where we developed some funding, and we paid for solar to be placed on a community center that was in the Black community. And in addition to that, we also made a part of it that people in the community, young men, young women who may have had, previous criminal records could get trained in how to install solar.
Okay.
So they've been going through a training program, so they'll be able to, get jobs and be employed in that industry. That's still new. It's still a new industry that's being developed. We're getting ready to do a semi.
And I've been to Ghana twice, and there's a young lady that graduated from the University of California. She was from Ghana. She grew up in the rural part of Ghana, and she decided to go back to Ghana. And right now, she's developing solar farms to make sure that the rural communities will get the kind of electricity that they need, to survive. And she's doing well. And I think that's something that we need to take a stronger look at. As you were saying, it will bring some savings. It will bring some job opportunities for those that have had, some problems, in society.
And of course, that's clean. That's clean energy. That's clean renewable energy. So you aren't going to have, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, find out that there were major health, health problems with that energy. So it's a win-win for us. We have to quit fighting it.
Right. Now, how would you rate our governor in terms of looking at healthcare and looking at COVID-19? How would you rate this current governor in terms of how the African American community has been treated during the COVID this COVID period?
Yeah, he's done some things right. I think some of the things that could have been done better was that I think he opened up the state a little bit too soon. I think things could have been shut down a little bit longer. Also, really enforcing communities to require the mask. Now, you could do a better job of actually requiring a mask if you require the businesses to have, to only have masks worn in their facilities. So when people realize that they can't go in and get a cup of coffee, they can't go in and get a donut, they can't go in and purchase groceries or any other necessities, you can't go in if they don't have a mask on. So I think we could have done a little better job in making sure that businesses enforce the requirement for making a mask. But it warms me when I walk around and see masks on people.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I go into a lot of different restaurants and different places, and a lot of people don't respect the rights of others and not wearing their mask. And like you said, there should have been some restrictions put on people that would not be wearing, the mask to protect, the community as a whole. That's beautiful. All right, so we looked at the economics. What about the criminal justice? We've seen George Floyd. Situation around the country. There was an incident in Indianapolis involving the police shooting. There have been some situations. I know previously in Fort Wayne there was some situations with some incidents with the police. What is the NAACP on a statewide doing in the area of criminal justice?
Yeah, in the area of criminal justice, that takes so many different forms. I mean, dealing with judges who sentence people, to the prosecutor who charges people, to the police who arrest people. There's so many facets and so many moving parts, and so we're involved in all of those pieces in various degrees in various parts of the state, of course. On a state level, what we've been doing is we've been meeting with the Indiana Chief of Police organization in an effort to try to come up with some things that we can agree on in common. One of the things is that we want to make sure that if something happens in a community, that the first time that you're sitting across the table from the police chief this is the first time when something happens. We want you sitting across that table from each other, so that we develop a relationship, so that one, we can try to reduce the number of incidents that occur that are improper, that are wrong, out and out wrong. And we also want to be able to have a dialogue. So if you know this person, if you had some conversations, if you met face to face, so when something happens, we want to be able to go in and say, okay, be candid with us. What happened? And a lot of times, a lot of this could be avoided because things are going to happen. The human factor is involved. But if people would admit to what happened, as opposed to trying to cover it up and do everything you can to protect the police officer as opposed to protecting the citizens, and acknowledging that the citizens are the ones who have been harmed as opposed to having been helped, then that exacerbates the problem.
Okay. All right. So are we having any major concerns right now with the police actions in the state?
In the state, we haven't had any, well, of course, you've already, identified a few, but certainly they've not escalated to the point where the national attention has taken place. But one place where, our being able to have a relationship with law enforcement actually helped some citizens there was a group of people who were marching from Milwaukee to Washington, D.C. for the March on Washington. They decided they were going to walk that whole way. Well, they had walked out of Wisconsin without a problem. They had walked through the state of Illinois without a problem. They started marching through Indiana. They got to Warsaw. Where's Warsaw now? They get to Warsaw and they got a problem. And a couple of them got arrested. That's when my phone started ringing. What are we going to do about these people who are marching through our state? And I'm like, okay. They were able to get out of jail the next day, and they continued their journey. Shelia was so helpful because, of course, Warsaw is very close to Fort Wayne, and they had to go through Fort Wayne in order to get over there toward Ohio. So our role was to try to get these people from Warsaw, Fort Wayne, and beyond to cross that Indiana border into Ohio safely without another incident occurring, because we want to make sure we wholeheartedly support protests.
Yes.
Protests is important. It is good. It wakes folks up, and we always want to support somebody's right to protest, and we want to help them whenever we can. And so again, I commend Shelia and her people for monitoring the situation. They made sure that some of Sheila's people made sure that the folks had food, that they had lodgings for the time while they were trying to rest up, and we got them through. And I had my contacts with the state police to make sure, because when they leave one jurisdiction, they're going to be a lot of times on state roads and things. So we want to make sure that the state was involved so that they could make sure that the people, were safe, but they weren't obstructing traffic either.
Okay.
So there's a way that we can all coexist, and we have to make sure that was taking place. I contacted my counterpart, my NAACP state president in Ohio, told them these people are going to be coming through your way. Can you contact your local state police and give them safe passage through the state of Ohio? Which he did. And eventually we got texts that they had made it all the way to DC for the March on Washington. So that's a way that that the state police can, and a relationship with the police can be beneficial.
And it goes to show you what happens when we collaborate together. Because many times people think that the NAACP does it all by ourselves. We have to collaborate.
Sure.
With the Urban League, we have to collaborate with other organizations that have the same interests that we have, and we have to come together and work together so that we can remove the same enemy that we all have an interest in trying to deal with. And the problem comes in when one organization feels that they the only ones that have the solution. No one organization has the total solution to the issues to our community. And that's why I wanted to bring this conversation, because the NAACP is the oldest and most successful civil rights organization in the nation. We
Yes.
have the track record. We've set the precedent for how we dealt with the courts, how we dealt with voting, how we dealt with lynching in this country. People don't realize that you have to work with foundation first.
Mhm.
And the NAACP is the foundation.
Right.
And if you don't understand how the NAACP is working, then you don't really understand what it takes to stay free.
That's a great opening for our next gen. That's one of the things that we're doing, creating the next generation of freedom fighters.
Mhm.
Right now, we have two that's in that class.
Okay.
In the normal, they would have came through our national convention.
Mhm.
And so we have Stacia Kelly and Shanetta Red that will be graduating real soon.
Mhm.
So we are taking applications. Shanetta actually created a public service announcement. I think you might have seen it. We are done dying.
Mhm.
Trying to explain to
Mhm.
people what the next gen program is. Those
Mhm.
21 to
We
40.
are done dying, aren't we?
Yes, that 21
I'm
to
sick and
40.
tired.
Right. So we're looking for these folks so that we can equip them with all the tools that they need to be successful. We
Mhm.
want these young folks to understand how the machine works. A lot of
Mhm.
people want the NAACP to move. We can't move.
Mhm.
There's certain things we do, and most things we do decent and in order. Don't
Mhm.
say that we don't get it right all the time, but for the most part, that is our motto. I
Mhm.
say all the time, any and everything that you want to do with the NAACP, there is a piece of paper, a manual, a policy, a procedure for you to be successful. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to throw that in there. One of the other things, you spoke a little bit about young people. We have an AXO chapter. And is Barbara still on the call, or did we lose her?
Now I think her phone probably went out, but
Okay,
we'll
that's okay. But I did also want to talk about AXO.
mhm.
That's another demographic of young folks that we're looking for, and that's the high school student that is of African descent. And
Mhm.
so that could be a variety of people, your Latino brothers and sisters, your Asians, the Blacks. I mean, so that's a large group of people that are of African descent. And so
Mhm.
those high school students would compete here locally.
Mhm.
And then in the real world, I hate saying it like that, then
Mhm.
they would advance to our national convention. Barbara was on and she spoke a little bit about it earlier. Evansville had a gold place winner.
Mhm.
And Gary also did. So we want to make sure that folks remember about those two programs there. Um, I'm sorry. Go ahead, JB. I just wanted to throw that.
Uh, I was going to ask you a question. What is your greatest need right now, Sheila, as president of the NAACP, that you're facing right now in the local community?
Uh, right now, our biggest need is membership.
Mm.
Membership is the lifeblood of the NAACP. It's a 30-20 split with the national, basically, and us. Um,
Mhm.
we use those dollars to pay our rent, to
Mhm.
pay whatever our insurance. So we do have a few things that are overhead. I know
What happened?
a lot of people don't understand how membership work, but I'm
Okay,
more
just
than happy to direct anyone that's listening to naacp.org,
yeah, try to come on back in.
the national website. You could just simply select on join. You would place your zip code. Your zip code
Mhm.
will take you to our Fort Wayne branch, and you can become a member.
Mhm.
Some folks have membership numbers. Maybe they have an old card. They could still
Mhm.
reactivate, renew. If
Mhm.
someone would like to gift someone, so those percentages that come back into the branch, that is our lifeline, especially this year with COVID.
Right.
Usually our Marjorie D. Wickciff Freedom Fund Banquet. That's not happening this year. And so with that being said, we are looking to be more creative in a couple other ways. Some of our biggest sponsors, they're not even giving. They're not doing any type of sponsorships. Most of their dollars they're using for COVID. They're doing community feeding people, giving out masks, sanitizer. So they're using their dollars a little different this year. And so we're just trying to keep the lights on, and that's with memberships.
Right. And memberships is the lifeblood. You know,
That's
other organizations, you can get all kinds of grants from other organizations, but membership is the
right.
key. And that's why I decided in this season, you
Yeah.
know, David Thoreau, a Harvard graduate, wrote a position paper dealing with civil disobedience.
Mhm.
And he was dealing with, you know, civil disobedience. And we're in that season.
Right.
We're in that season now where we have to be able to take a look at, if we don't have membership, then we won't be in a position to fight the good fight of faith that we need to fight during this period of discontentment. We're in a season of discontentment. And when you're in a season of discontentment against your government,
Mm.
it gives you a right to fight against a government that is not taking care of its citizens, and especially Black Americans. We're,
Mm.
we're at the threshold of losing
Mm.
of the games that we have won.
Right, right, right. It is so important. I mean, I know I speak about membership. Membership is the lifeblood of the NAACP. But right now, with this get out the vote, right now, the urgency of now, less than 50 days, there's things like gas cards that we would need.
Yes.
It's like ink for printers, paper, laminating. I mean, so there's a lot of little things that we need. And those membership dollars will take care of that. I mean, if someone listening wants to send us a check specifically for Get Out the Vote, and being even more specific, saying for the Next Gen program or whatever, they can do that. We've had several people very intentionally support our Next Gen, and so we're real happy about that. We're happy about being able to create the video, the brochures, and share with the community what we're doing with the Next Gen program.
Amen. And I try to take a look at the fact that one of the reasons why we came on tonight is to let the people know that the local branch, in addition to our national, is celebrating 99 years of being in this community. This branch was chartered on April the 8th, 1921. So that gives us 99 years of presence of fighting for freedom, justice, and equality over the years. And during that 99 years, we have over 42 years of having a freedom fund in the honor of Marjorie D. Wickciff. Our first freedom fund was June 10th, 1978. That was the first year that I became president of the local branch, Shelia.
Okay.
And D. Wickciff, along with P.A. Lyons and along with Judge Briggs' father, they were all involved in the initial development or formation of the NAACP here in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Right.
We have been around a long time.
Hey, do the work. I'm telling you, there is so many people that don't understand that we have room for everyone at the table. The NAACP has 17 standing committees. Like I say, any and everything we do, there's a piece of paper to explain or tell you or teach you how to. We have our regional training, the CRATI or CRATI, depending on who you're talking to, the Civil Rights Activist Training Institute. A lot of that training is online, even with our national convention that started on Sunday with our AXO and presenting those young people with their awards. People can go to the NAACP.org. It will direct you to the convention. You can go online and you can register. There is no fees involved. The only people that pays fees are the delegates.
Yes.
It will be next week. So this is the beginning of you understanding more about the NAACP, how we operate, how we move, some of the things we stand for. There will be the reading of the resolutions. There's quite a few resolutions that came out of California. Indiana, we did not have one, but last year we did have an environmental resolution that did pass. And so that was a big accomplishment that actually came out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And so there's so many things that you get recognized at the national convention. One of them is the medallion for your memberships. Anyone that brings in $1,000, the million, and then 100 memberships, you would become a member of the $1 Million Club. So those opportunities will not be this year, unfortunately. But we're hoping that everyone continue to get memberships. Keep track of your memberships, remind your folks to renew their memberships. If you know some folks that's kind of been at that general membership $30 level, encourage them to become a subscribing lifetime member. Or if someone like JB that's already a fully paid subscriber, encourage him to step up.
There it is. And Shelia, I have made a commitment to you that I'm getting ready to upgrade. To golden. I'm going golden. And we will be upgrading this month to the Golden Life membership. Because I was born into civil rights. I was born in 1947 in a segregated society, Shelia.
Yes, sir.
In a segregated society. Barbara, you're back. We thank you.
We got Barbara.
Yeah, she's back. Hold on. We're trying to get her back in here.
Get her back.
Yeah, there she is. There she is. Oh, wow. We got her back.
Ooh, all right.
We're back. And Barbara, I was just telling Shelia that I was born in civil rights. I'm from Virginia. I was born in segregation, raised in segregation, went to all black schools, saw the horrors of segregation, didn't like it. And I understood what Dr. King was campaigning against the Vietnam War, because many of us African Americans who was raised in segregation had to go to Vietnam, knowing that we was coming back to a country that had closed the doors on opportunities, and they wondered why Newark and New Jersey and Los Angeles and many of these places blew up in fire, because the opportunities afforded by the Constitution, equal protection under the law, and being able to express ourselves were closed, and those things caused us to get noticed. And if we don't watch ourselves in the 21st century, that we're in this century that we're in now, we're going to see many more explosions, because we who was born and raised in segregation, we ain't going back there no more. We going down fighting today. That's why these young people are in the streets right now, because they're saying we are not going back again.
That's right. They want their right. They want them now.
And
it's like
you see this right here?
What's that?
The biography of Roy Wilkins.
Okay.
When I became involved in the NAACP, Roy Wilkins was the executive director.
Wow.
Roy Wilkins was a powerful, quiet giant who got a lot of things done. And the title of his book was, his autobiography is Standing Fast. We who are free Barbara and Sheila, we have to stand fast in the liberty.
Okay.
In the liberty that we have won. And we can no longer afford to backtrack into the bondages that has kept us down. We got to move forward.
Absolutely.
And one of the leaders that I learned about when I went to Ghana was Kwame Nkrumah. When I went to his museum, they had a statue of Kwame Nkrumah on the fairgrounds, and he had his fans going forward, and he said this: "Forward forever, backwards never."
Right.
That's what it means today. We're going forward, and we're not going backwards. And whatever it takes, we're gonna fight until victory is won. Yes. Ladies, I want to thank you for the opportunity for you to come forth and share what's going on locally, what's going on statewide, and what's going on nationally. And as I mentioned to Sheila, Barbara, she needs to have a local forum. And this interview tonight is just the beginning of our local president, who will be coming forward on a monthly or weekly basis to come before this community to let them know what the concerns are. And once you put them out there, it's going to be up to us to be able to do what we need to do.
And JB, I don't know if y'all talked about voting while I was off or not, but we didn't talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
We got voting and the census left. Just two things.
Okay. Okay, we got the census. That's important. Sheila, go ahead and handle census, and I'm gonna handle voting.
Okay.
These
and
folks
down at the bottom of the screen, while you were talking, we hope that our viewers would take a look at how they can go and make sure that they're ready to vote and they're ready to do the census.
Right, 2020census.gov. That's where you're going to go. It's that simple. If you received a piece of paper underneath your mat, for the most part, that's where they're putting them at. That means that you have not completed the census. So someone has been to your home and they're trying to get you to complete your census. So go to 2020census.org. Simple. It takes you less than 5 minutes. If you do not complete the census by September the 30th, the last day here in September, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And so you want to make sure that we are getting our piece of the pie. And how is that? That's by you completing the census. So once again, 2020census.org. Please, sir, please, .gov, 2020census.gov. I'm so used to saying .org. 2020census.gov. Please, sir, please, madam. Thank you.
One thing we have to realize is the things that we ask you to do are so simple. They are so very simple, and they're for your benefit. This for my benefit, is for your benefit, it's for everybody's benefit, and that is to fill out that census, and that's to go to the polls and vote. Do you wonder why politicians and everybody spends so much time trying to keep you from voting when you keep yourself from voting? There have been so many schemes and things out there to try to keep you from going to the polls and casting your vote, because they know that is your right. And the minute you stand up for your rights and exercise your rights, things will change. Things will change in this community. Things will change in this state. Things will change in this country if you just vote. I talk to young people, and I get to say, oh, I'm not gonna vote. I'm not gonna vote because it's just changing one white man for another white man. I'm like, look, you just need to ask yourself, have things been well over these last 4 years?
Right.
If your answer is yes, then don't go to the polls, because if you don't go to the polls, you voted for the person in office. Understand that. You're not hurting anybody, but yourself if you don't vote. If you really believe that things can't get any worse, don't believe that. It can't get worse.
And
You gotta go to the polls. You gotta decide, whatever. And I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm just saying, just ask yourself. But you gotta go and vote. I mean, you just have to. You just have to. We filed so many lawsuits in this state. Been a part of so many lawsuits, and they all deal with voting. The current lawsuit that we're in right now deals with the absentee ballot. The powers that be don't want you to vote absentee ballot. They know that you're afraid to vote in person.
Right.
And so now they're doing everything to say, oh, it's not safe. Oh, your vote's not going to count because, it's not going to get to the people. Everything that they can say to discourage you from voting. But let me tell you this. If you decide to vote absentee ballot, you must make sure that ballot gets to your election board by noon of voting day. By noon. It can't get there at 12:01. It can't get there at 12:05.
Noon.
Yeah, noon. So that means, what does that mean? Since we can't be late, we don't have to be early.
That's right.
You got to be early.
And the thing that people have to understand is that voter suppression starts in the mind. If they can get you in the mind to believe that a process will not work for you, you will begin to doubt, that system. But I tell people all the time, look, if somebody tampers with the mail, that's fraud. That's a federal offense. So if they get caught messing with the mail, then you have a legal right or legal recourse to deal with those fraudulent activities. Because that mail is stamped. Don't mess with the mail. So don't let them get into your mind about you shouldn't do absentee ballot. Well, the current president, he filed absentee.
Right.
So he can do it. Why can't you do it? So I think we got to deal with this mindset that Frederick Douglass said, power conceives nothing without a demand. You gotta fight for your vote. You gotta do everything you can to vote. And I tell these young people that's working on these jobs, if voting is important to you, sacrifice that day's pay, take off and go and vote. Many of our African Americans have not voted because they've been chasing the dollar. They have not realized that if they don't vote, that job that they have right now won't be there in the next 4 or 5 years if we continue down this same track. Because these evil people that's in office, they don't want you to progress. And so we have to do everything we can to make sure we fight for the vote. People died for us to vote, and therefore it's up to us to fight to do everything we can to vote. Whether you're going directly to the polls, whether you're doing absentee voting, you got to do whatever you can to make sure that your constitutional right is exercised.
Right.
That's part of our freedom as a citizen of this country. Now, Barbara, before we go, I want you to talk about on Friday the 18th, there's going to be a Black Voters Day presentation that's going to be made by BET. What is that all about? Why is that important for us doing this convention to make sure that we get people online to experience this conversation?
Again, it's to encourage everyone to get people to understand that something as simple as you casting your ballot can make a big difference. And we want to let people know that this ain't a white thing, this ain't a black thing, this is a birthright thing. This is your birthright. So you're going to let somebody else take your birthright away from you? You're going to give it away? Not mine. You can't have mine. You can do everything you want to try to take it, but you can't have mine. Right. And you want to get that out of the way, then
you get ready to start a preaching spell right now because Esau sold his birthright for
didn't he?
So the question is, what are we going to give our vote away for?
Mm-hmm.
Some people are giving their vote away for false promises.
Mm.
And some of them are
Yeah.
giving it away for 30 pieces of silver. And
Oh, my
I tell people, if
Mhm.
somebody wants to pay you to go and vote a certain way, take that money, because when you go into the voting poll, nobody knows how you cast your ballot. So
Mm.
take the money. They gonna tell you don't take no money.
Mhm.
Take the money and then go vote your conscience. And what will make you think you got to be upright for somebody who's gonna offer to buy your vote? Take the money. Then
Amen.
go vote your way. Go
Amen.
vote your way.
You
Do
know,
it.
you know, Lerone Bennett, a great historian for Ebony Magazine back in 1981, he proposed a question that is very relevant today. And the question he wrote an article entitled "The Second Time Around."
Mm.
But his premise was this: will history repeat itself and rob blacks of the gains of the 1960s?
Well,
That question is relevant right now.
is that our next topic? Because we just ran out of time. I said, is that our next topic? Because we just ran out of time. It's 9:03 right now. And I got an announcement. So you put that on your plate for the next time.
Well, look,
I want to make sure.
Barbara, I really appreciate you and Sheila coming on tonight. And as I told Sheila, I said, Sheila, I can help you to master this technology, because we got COVID-19 that's causing us to think outside the box. And technology is here for us to do that. So whatever it takes, Sheila, for me to help you to get your format, like I designed this format with the NAACP backdrop, we can do the same thing for you, because you need to have an opportunity once a week so that the people, your constituents, the membership will know exactly what the NAACP is doing locally, statewide, and nationwide, because we got to get Fort Wayne out of this bubble.
Well,
Fort Wayne is
help.
a bubble.
I need help, JB, and I'm so glad that you are at the table, and I'm glad that my state president has come on. You know, we have an election this year, JB, and the president only has so much power. The power really lies within the executive committee. And so the president can appoint, you know, the committee chairs, but it's up to the executive committee to vote them up or down.
Yes.
And so I'm a firm believer that the work of the NAACP is done through committees. And so there's room for everybody at the table. And how do they get to the table, JB? They get a membership.
You got to be a member to get to the table.
Membership. That's what they do, because we're a membership-based organization.
What does
that membership give you? It gives you the privilege of being a card-carrying member of the local NAACP, the oldest, the boldest, the baddest, the most feared, the most revered organization on earth. So that's a sales pitch for your membership. But I want to give you some important dates also, JB. So in our September meeting, which will be our general membership meeting, the fourth Thursday of the month, which will be next Thursday. In the September meeting, we shall vote to determine the number of members to be elected to the nominating committee. That's between 5 and 15 people. The general membership shall vote to determine the number of persons who shall be elected to serve as at-large members of the executive committee. That's those committee chairs I just spoke about. And the general membership shall vote to elect its nominating committee. So I need everybody, the fourth Thursday of the month. If you don't know how to get on a meeting, please, sir, please, madam, inbox me. We will figure this out. We're doing something different. We were doing a Zoom and you just jump on, but now they're changing a few things that we're checking into for people that don't have Zoom, where you could continue to call in and be a part of those calls. And so the fourth Thursday of the month, September, that date. At 6:30 will be our meeting. And if you want to be a part of the program, if you want to be a part of the nominating committee, just come and learn more about the NAACP, how we work, how this machine works. Like I said, there's room for everybody at the table. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So we understand where we are. We thank you so very much for taking your time during this convention period to come on. And we just like to let the community know that this year, the NAACP is celebrating 111 years of history in the fight for freedom, justice, and equality since 1909, and the local community since April the 8th, 1921. That's almost 100 years location. Now, how many years the state has been involved, Barbara?
Yes.
How many years have we been involved with the state conference?
1940.
1940.
Yeah, you predate the state conference.
Yes.
But Wayne predates the state conference.
Amen. Amen. So we've been around a long time. So I want to commend you ladies for the dynamic leadership that you're providing both statewide and locally. And the state would not be in a position to be where they are now without your leadership. So my charge to you is continue to be the leaders that you are and do the things that you need to do and just be encouraged. Because if you just continue to move forward, things got to change. So have a good night, and may the Lord continue to bless you. And thank you so very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Ms. Barbara. Thank you so much. Thank
you. Doing
you.
a great job.
Thank you. Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.